Morning, y'all. Sarge here. I wanted to talk about my VA disability process. As I've said before, I retired after 24 years from the U.S. Air Force and loved my service. Problem with that can be when you retire and go through the VA process. So I retired December 1st of 2023, and before that, I was, that's about when I was trying to get out, but I couldn't start my VA process because I was going through a military process for anxiety. It took them a year to resolve that process. They just had to investigate and make sure I was fit for duty, which is kind of strange because I was retiring. So finally in December, right after I retired, I went to the Veterans Service Officer, VSO they call it, and put in all of my conditions. And I came back sometime in the summer of this year, 90% disabled, which is great. However, they denied my anxiety claim, I guess you would say. So I'm still going through that process. I saw one mental health worker. It was denied. I don't want to say, I submitted additional information. It's not a appeal that technically. So then in September, I saw another mental health professional and been waiting. Last week, got an email out of the blue that I have to see another mental health professional. Well, I can tell you the whole process gives you anxiety. If you have it, it makes it worse, which, I have it, so obviously it's the stress of it, darn thing, is making me worse. But for those of you who are about to be veterans or are veterans and want to consider the VA process, I did want to go over the things that I got disability for. So the first one was deep vein thrombosis. I got a 10% for that. I had broken my foot, and an Air Force doctor put me in a boot with virtually no instructions, and I ended up with a DVT from that. So I got 10%. Another thing which nearly all military get is tinnitus. That's the ringing in your ears. Got 10% for that. Also got 10% for allergic rhinitis, which is basically, I went to a Navy allergist, and she tested me with those pricks in the back, and that came out, they couldn't find anything I was specifically allergic to, but definitely decided I had allergies, and they gave me 10% for that. The broken foot, of which I spoke earlier, that gave me the DVT, I did get service-connected disability, but they gave me 0 because it healed. So what that means, if you get a 0%, it means yes, it was service-connected, because it was. I broke my foot while running, because in the military, you have to run, which I love. But it did break my foot. They gave me 0%, which means, like I said, it happened on active duty. But since the break is healed, I got a 0. Now, if I go out and fall down the steps and break my foot, I can have that re-evaluated, and they could up it to 10 or 20, whatever. Also had a major operation on my shoulder, my right shoulder, and it left huge scars. So that's a disability. I got 0%. So that scar breaks open or something crazy happens, I could up that. One of the biggest ones I got was sleep apnea. That's a huge one. You have to get diagnosed, I think, while you're on active duty, or maybe within a year of leaving active duty. So got 50% for that because I have severe obstructive sleep apnea. Also got a 0% for my right ear for hearing loss. So again, if that gets worse, I could potentially up that. I think maybe I had mentioned that I had basal cell carcinoma. I had 2 spots on my head. There's one right here. Left a huge scar like that, and it's deep. So they actually gave me 10% for that. And the next thing I got was I have a hiatal hernia, which I forget that's something with your esophagus, I believe, and that gives me acid reflux or GERD. So got 10% for that. The big, huge shocker for me was I went to the doctor, the VA doctor, didn't really mention it too much, and he said I had flat feet. So I was like, oh, okay. So he did some measurements and looking around. I don't know what they look for, but I got a disability rating for flat feet. I'd also mentioned the scar. Well, what I had was a bicep tendon rupture, tendonitis, and a rotator cuff tear. Now, you would think that sounds like the worst injury I have, which it was pretty bad. My arm was dangling and my whole biceps tendon was torn from my shoulder. So I got 20% for that. Also got 20% for a back injury. And I got another 10% for a DVT in the other leg. So I had it in both legs, and I had them multiple times. I had my right leg 3 times and my left leg twice. So that was my process. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm certainly not a doctor, but just wanted to go through my process. Still waiting for the anxiety. Next Tuesday, I meet with the mental health professional. I was supposed to do it today, but their system went down as I was logging on. Called the 800 number, and they said, yeah, it just went down. We're going to have to reschedule. So I was like, oh, great. Amping up the anxiety. So anyway, if there are any veterans out there or current military, if you have questions, feel free to comment. If you want to talk about your process, feel free to comment on that too. Everything is different. My process is not going to be exactly like yours. I don't care who you are, even if you have the same injuries. You could have the same exact injuries and come out with a different rating. And only the man above knows how that works. So anyway, that's it for today. As always, peace, love, and happiness. Sarge out.